Good morning, everyone. This is Michael Bowman from Vertical Works. It is June 10th, 2015. Bringing you another quick video on testing. Like I said, I usually do videos based on, I may have said this before, based on my experiences in the real world. 25 years contracting, you learn a lot of stuff, you see a lot of stuff, and you know, it's all about real world experiences, right? So let's start, shall we? Today's topic, testing. Let's say you're a contractor, you're on a project, and you guys are doing typical TDD stuff. You know, you've got N unit or X unit or Selenium tests, right? And your tests are getting huge. Well, for Selenium anyway, that's the topic of today's discussion. If you have spent as a manager tons of money building all these tests, I propose to you that if you make a decision to take those tests off the table because they're, quote, taking too long to run, that's probably a career limiting move, and I'll explain why. You've wasted company resources, you've burned effort, time, and everything to get them there, and to drop them because they're taking too long, I don't see the upside justification, the value add to that. If you want to actually shorten the execution time, what you have to do is split them up. Some people call sharding, you know, when you take a database and you shard it and you split tables horizontally and move stuff this way. That way you have many instances either running on the same server or on separate boxes. You've sharded your database and now everything, you can get to data quicker, right? Sharding, of course, has its own set of limitations and gotchas, especially for queries and whatnot, but there is value there. And for testing, running in parallel is much better than running sequentially. Right? So if you have tests that take an hour to execute or longer, the goal is not to throw your tests away, because your tests are your last bastion of defense. That is, you know, what you're using to have a warm fuzzy feeling at the end of the day, or with each build, you know, makes you happy, your developers happy, the QA team happy, the customers happy. You don't want to throw your tests away. So what do you do to get them to execute faster? You need to run them in parallel. If you can't split them up, first off, let me go over how you do it. Your data would go here in one instance. This is on a cloud, let's say. Data, and then test and test. Half of your tests run here and the other half run here. Now, if it takes an hour to run tests, 30 minutes plus 30 minutes is an hour. Wall time, clock time, you're looking at about the same cost. It might vary a little bit, but if you can get your tests to run in parallel, 1, 2, up to N instances, you know, yeah, you got to spin stuff up. Yeah, it's got to spin down, and while it's up, you're paying for it. But, you know, it's all about the same, right? Cost-wise. Now, from a headache point of view or an implementation point of view, there's things you have to do to put this in place. I submit to you that if your test cannot be split this way, then you may be in violation of the loosely coupled, tightly integrated, you know, rule. In your system, which means either your architecture or design is flawed and you need to go back and revisit it. So the goal, ladies and gentlemen, is to be able to run test boom, 30 minutes, done. If you need it in 15 minutes, split it out more, right? If you've designed the system correctly, you should be able to get those tests in and do that in parallel, and life would be great. If not, you're doing something wrong. But the answer is not to throw the tests away. That's dangerous for lots of reasons. Okay, let's talk about a couple of other things. Testing. You know, you start off with one customer, right? And then you have two, right? And it just keeps getting worse, right? I should say better, because it's more money, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see what I'm saying? It just keeps going and going. And you have to manage all that. And so you have some functions that are general, it applies to everything. You have professional services writing or asking for stuff, and you're charging customers money, but they want it now. And you can't afford to throw your tests away. You've got multiple branches, you've got all kinds of things in play, and you cannot afford to compromise on testing. Now, test-driven development takes a little longer. We test for a reason. And we don't test so a developer can say, see, I wrote great tests, everything's green. Stupid. We test because we're all human. Things change, things get impacted, and you need to test, right? And test-driven development is great, especially when you have it wired up to your builds. Okay, so make sure you're looking at how you can split things, right? That is a really important strategy. I want to talk to you about something else too. Let's say this is the start of your project right here. And this is time. It's going this way. Every project has a lifespan, right? We all want to develop applications that have a long lifespan, easy life cycle for development, long lifespan, because that means it lived a long time, it was used, it adapted, it was easy to update and maintain, and life is great. See that big F? I should put E, entropy. When, there's a second law of thermodynamics. Everything in the universe is winding down, right? Okay? Go study that. Entropy, right? Some people consider entropy information. If you're doing physics, it's information. Go see Leonard Susskind. But entropy in software is interesting. When things get so crazy that you just can't, it's chaotic and you just can't manage it anymore, your entropy level is out the window and it's done. The project is done. It's got to have to be scrapped and rewritten. That's what this represents. Now, the idea of building software is to push that point out on that timeline as far as you can. How do you do that? Well, Scrum is great, Agile is great, iterative development. There's something else too. It's a buzzword everyone uses. Collaboration. What does that actually mean? Does collaboration mean that when you join a team, you come onto the team, nod yes, and just code? And that's not collaboration. Collaboration is a process, just like normalization of your tables is a process. Collaboration is about capturing ideas, vetting them, digesting them, understanding the pros and cons and the value of those ideas. Will they serve the project? Will they help push this out? Okay? And if they do, then they should be phased in as you go. The manager that says, we'll get it later, we'll just have to worry about that later, we'll just have to worry about that later, he is quickly approaching this and he doesn't even know it, right? The course of his life is changing and he doesn't even know it. Because when he hits that, he's probably going to get ousted. Happens all the time. So I submit to you that not only do you need a Scrum Master, not only do you need a product development manager, right? Not only do you need QA, not only do you need developers, but you really should consider, if you have the opportunity to do so, consider having a collaboration manager. Now, what does a collaboration manager do? They are one level removed from the team. But what they do is they make sure people are getting the ideas freely, openly, without people getting pissed over cultural, political correctness, ooh, you're stepping on my toes type stuff. These issues are getting in. The collaboration manager is vetting them, doing a pro and con analysis, or a value analysis to see if there's value there. If needed, the collaboration manager can go back to the person that came up with the idea and say, I need more information on this. Tell me about it. And that person can, work with that person, collaborate, get all that information so that the collaboration manager can summarize that, right? Do a little research, figure some stuff out, and figure out, hey, we really should be injecting that. And at that point, that information then has to go in front of the manager, the PM, and the teams, and they have to, really take a vote on it, but not from a position of, you're hurting my feelings because I've been doing it wrong all these years and now you're exposing my weakness. Get that off the table. This is not personal. This is about adding value to the project, adding value to the company. Everyone makes mistakes, okay? They make design mistakes. Sometimes there's all kinds of reasons why, but the point is it must be something that's improved upon. And if it's not improved upon, then the whole collaboration word is just a bunch of lip service. If you're not actually collaborating, you're not collaborating. So get a collaboration manager, put that person in there, remove them from the development team so that they can sit there and manage the things that come in, look at them, vet them, go, gee, right? Hey, that makes a lot of sense. And that person right there, just in charge of that thing alone. Here's another thing you got to deal with. Out in the world, there is a bunch of noise. And we all deal with it every day. The problem isn't that there's too little information. There's too much information. Okay? So what do? You've got to get rid of noise. You want to get down to what is good, which might only be this much. Right? And the other thing you want to get rid of, we all know what this is, thrash. Right? You want to get rid of thrash. You don't want to thrash around and waste effort, waste time, waste resources, and waste money. Get a collaboration manager. Work on getting rid of noise, focusing on what's good, getting it injected in, push that thing out so your projects live long. That includes, unfortunately, people do not validate their stories. I've seen some stories that are so, I don't like to use the word piss poor, but really they are. And their acceptance criteria is all messed up. They don't even word things correctly, right? They don't get it vetted correctly, and they rush through it because either they're on a tight sprint schedule or something, and they're stumbling from the word go, from the start. So you really have to, as a contractor, be aware of all this stuff. And go watch my contracting advice video because it'll help you avoid some pitfalls in communicating all this to the client. But if you're just there to do heads down coding, put your headphones on, code. If they want to drive the truck into a ditch, put on your helmet, your crash helmet, and you're just going to have to go for the ride if you're there for a paycheck. But if you're there because you really want to add value, if you're there because they need the value, and you're trying to help them get it corrected, you got to consider all these things. If not, like I said, put your crash helmet on and just go for a ride. Anyway, testing. Parallel testing with Selenium. Great thing to do. There's other frameworks as well, so I'm not endorsing anything, but parallel testing is good. Anything you can do to speed things up, do your builds quicker. And I have a lot to say on builds, but we're out of time, and I hope you'll consider all this. This is Michael Bowman. Go off and have a great day. Happy coding.